the 2-0. Turned in the air to right field. Going back of Gonzalez out the wall. Goodbye. 3-0 in game 5.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to M&A Sports Talk. I'm Matthew Calvin alongside my podcast partner, Aiden Roman. Welcome to the show, Aiden. Cannot wait to get this started.
I agree, Matt. Thanks for having me here. I can't wait to get this podcast going, and hopefully there's many more to come after this.
Absolutely, Aiden. This is such a cool opportunity for both of us. I would say, especially for you, though. I mean, you're a senior in high school, looking to colleges already for next year, and just the opportunity to kind of take all that away for a couple of minutes and just relax and talk about something that we both love so much, and that's about sports.
It's something that we both can do for hours on end, so why not record it and show everybody else?
Well, just a little quick introduction to the show, since being our very first episode here. Once again, I'm Matthew Kaufman. That's Aiden Roman, my podcast partner. We're going to talk a little bit about sports, of course, obviously, hence the name M&A Sports Talk. But we're going to focus on three main sports, especially baseball and football, that are more the common for me and you, Aiden. We're going to obviously talk Yankees, New York teams. We're going to talk the New York Mets, the Giants, and the New York Giants as well, the New York Jets. We're going to talk a little New York Knicks in there, some Brooklyn Nets as well. And other news, of course, throughout Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA, of course, hockey news as well. But I just really want to start with we're going to start with other baseball news before we get into the Yankees and the Mets. Big signing that just happened literally just a little while ago when the Boston Red Sox, who really we were questioning their decisions so far this offseason, Aiden, they just signed Rafael Devers to an 11-year contract for over $300 million.
Yeah, as a Yankee fan in need of a third baseman, I got a little happy when they first offered him 1 year, $17.5 million. But it was only the Red Sox can't let everybody go. They have to sign somebody, and it seems like they want to build around Devers.
Yeah, and we mentioned, as you just said, Aiden, a team that in the Red Sox that really just kind of let a few guys that really were some big names walk in Xander Bogaerts, who a lot of people question, well, why? He's been a shortstop for your team. He's been your best shortstop. He's good every year offensively. He's got a great defensive glove. What is the reason that you couldn't go re-sign Bogaerts? You have J.D. Martinez leave, Nathan Eovaldi, who just signed to the Texas Rangers. So out of all of that, it's got to be something good for the Boston Red Sox to be able to say, okay, we locked that guy down. Now let's go make some bigger offensive moves. Now that you lost to your shortstop, now you do have Trevor Story, who can play shortstop. That's where he was playing when he was over with the Colorado Rockies. So do you move him to shortstop now that Bogaerts is out? So many questions relying on that situation, Aiden. And, of course, we're going to figure that out a little later on and definitely further episodes of this podcast. But if you're the Red Sox GM, what are your thoughts on this process? Who are you going to look at? Are you going to stick to the infield and look at infield? You're going to look at some pitchers now that you've let some of them go. What are your thoughts here?
Well, seeing how they let Nathan Eovaldi go, if I'm the Red Sox owner right now, I'm looking straight at making sure Chris Sale does not leave, even though he is a little bit injury prone, and two, maybe even signing Trevor Bauer. He's going to be a free agent soon. His suspension just got cut down ever since the Dodgers let him go. But you need some big names. You need some superstars. You can't just have Devers. Devers can't do it all.
Now, you just mentioned, funny enough, Trevor Bauer, Aiden. What are your thoughts on that whole situation? Obviously being reinstated. If you're the Dodgers, obviously he was with you for a while at the moment, got suspended. Now his suspension's being shortened, I guess you could say. So do you have him pitch for you? Are you looking to trade Bauer? Maybe get some more, get another pitcher for him? What are your thoughts on, and what I personally would do after that situation? We've seen it so many times around all of sports. A situation like that, I really go to the fact, okay, maybe let's look to trade this guy, get something else, and give away that, because you don't want that, I wouldn't say headache, but those kind of situations on a team that, like the Dodgers, who were trying to win another championship.
I mean, when you have a pitcher of that caliber, it's hard to see him go, obviously. But in my opinion, I wouldn't wait to let Trevor walk. I would 100% trade him, get something good out of it, maybe a couple of hitters. I know Clayton Kershaw is getting up there in age. Maybe get a new rookie, couple new rookie pitchers.
Yeah, and of course, obviously, I mean, these young studs we saw it during all season last year, young studs coming up to the major leagues, throwing 95, 100 miles an hour. Spencer Strider from the Atlanta Braves, another one of those young guys who came up to the Braves and dominated for Atlanta this past season. And in those situations, Aiden, you got to look at, okay, this guy's young. You don't want to blow out his arm now. Obviously, you don't want to blow out your arm ever. But at the same time, like, you don't want to throw him in, a rookie in there, a younger guy in there to throw 250 innings in their rookie year in a really young season for these guys. So at the same time, you got to think, okay, do we go for a veteran who's got the experience like the Yankees just got? Obviously, we're going to talk about that in a couple of moments. But with Carlos Rodon coming to the Yankees, a veteran kind of guy like that coming over, giving your pitching staff some veterans on your staff and helping your younger guys develop and for them to understand the situation as well as being a young pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, I think that's what the Yankees need. The Yankees need some couple veterans to go over there. Just as much as I do, we have a lot of young studs. So with the help of a couple veterans, I know we have Rizzo, Donaldson, but Donaldson, with the way he's playing in New York, the owners might look to trade him, but you never know. I know you got Rizzo. He's probably the only hitter that's won a ring on the team. So, just the talk between him and Judge, they love each other. They get the gears moving.
Yeah, definitely. Now, speaking of the Yankees, this is kind of part of the show that I'm going to enjoy the most. Obviously, me and you, big Yankee fans. This is part of the show that I think me and you are going to probably enjoy the most out of this Yankee baseball. Of course, obviously, re-signing Judge, probably the biggest thing in baseball this season, or this offseason, I would say. But look at, obviously, the smaller things for the Yankees, right? If you weren't able to re-sign Aaron Judge, which luckily enough, the Yankees were able to finalize a deal with him. Hal Steinbrenner did an amazing job picking him, calling up Aaron Judge, saying, hey, what do you want? Plus, we're going to make you captain of this team. So if you're Aaron Judge, you're coming off a 62 home run season. You broke the American League home run record. What are your expectations for Aaron Judge in 2023, Aiden?
I mean, for the rest of his career, not even just 2023, I'm looking for multiple times 30-plus home runs. I mean, you could tell the guy's made for it. 6'7", 280. He most likely going to win another Gold Glove soon for right field. He's just a monster on the field.
Yeah, and the best thing for the Yankees is the fact that he has that leadership ability. And we, of course, heard from Aaron Boone in the press conference, Brian Cashman, how Steinbrenner touched on it as well, the leadership that Aaron Judge brings. And if you watch some of the post games after a Yankee win, or when he hit a few of the walk-offs for the Yankees this year, he didn't make it about him hitting the walk-offs. It was about the team effort, and that's what the Yankees love so much about big number 99, Aaron Judge. And every team needs a guy like that, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. Everybody needs that one guy, that one captain, like Jose Ramirez is for the Cleveland Guardians. Well, it's messed up there. He's their captain. Everybody looks up to him on the team. They kind of take his lead as the Yankees take Judge's lead. It's almost like seeing, another Derek Jeter.
Absolutely, and that's exactly the last captain for the New York Yankees, obviously, for New York. And you look at this team, 2009, the last World Championship for the Yankees. They've been close the last few years. Last year, of course, or this past season, Houston Astros got in the way. ALCS. Previous year, Division Series. Division Series. It's constantly, they're in the postseason. They have what they need, but they can't finish the job. And it seems like it's been the Houston Astros that obviously have been in the way of the Yankees, and that's what their whole offseason was. This is what the offseason has been based around. How do we get past the Houston Astros? Because there's a very high chance that the Yankees face this team in the postseason with what the Yankees have, and if you put the Astros together, these are two teams that definitely have another chance this season in 2023 to meet in a playoff game, and most likely the American League Championship Series, depending on how the seasons play out.
Oh, 100%. But, year in after year out for Yankee fans, you almost expect to lose to the Houston Astros, especially how this whole season went. We won twice this year out of 6, 7 games just via the walk-off. But come that postseason time, we know there's people that are going to step up. This season, Judge couldn't do everything in the postseason, but he carried us there. So we needed that one person. Bader really came in after the trade deadline, and Bader really made a mark on the team.
You mentioned it, the mark 5 home runs this postseason. Of course, obviously, you can't rely on one guy to win every game for you. Your offense has to kind of share it, and we've talked about this plenty of times. Obviously, even in little league, college, high school level, minor league level, no matter where it is, one guy's not going to be able to carry your team. Multiple pieces come together, just like a puzzle. Multiple pieces come together to make the big picture. That's what the Yankees needed this postseason that couldn't get done. But now, heading into 2023, the addition of Carlos Rodon, which we mentioned earlier that we were going to touch on, which is coming up next. But the addition for the Yankees, that you get these veteran players, you re-sign Judge. Rizzo's coming back. You have a veteran in the Donaldson who, yes, he struggled last year, but at the same time, you love the veteran presence that he brings, the grit that he brings, as Aaron Boone touched upon many times last season when it was his first year with the Yankees. But what are the next moves for the Yankees? Obviously, we've seen the rumors about Aaron Hicks possibly being traded, Josh Donaldson being traded. Gleyber Torres was up on the trade market during the trade deadline during the season. So at the same time, though, you don't want to get rid of your stars on the lower level, like an Anthony Volpe, Jason Dominguez, two guys that really are going to be your next guys for the New York Yankees.
Like you said, the lower level, the Volpe and Dominguez. I saw Cashman tweet not too long ago. He said that for us not to be surprised if they see Volpe playing in May. Personally, I'd give Volpe the starting shortstop spot over Isaiah, only because Isaiah Kiner-Falefa makes a fair amount of errors, but Volpe, it's like almost like the Jeter thing. Everybody says you can't have a rookie shortstop and expect to win a championship. When you look at the Astros, they just got Sebastian Pena, and they just won the championship. And he's a great glove, great hitter. He's a great teammate.
Yeah, and obviously Jeremy Pena won the World Series MVP, hit a huge clutch home run in, the 18th inning of the division series against the Seattle Mariners. Really beat up on the Yankees as well offensively, hit that home run in Yankee Stadium. Then you look at the World Series, unbelievable what he did in the World Series, winning the MVP. So the young guns, really, we could say, for these two teams, that's going to be the battle when it comes later on in the season. So we go from the New York Yankees to, Aiden, me and you were talking about this, and we kind of smiled at each other when we were talking before the show today, the New York Mets. And what they have done this offseason has been incredible. I want your touch up a little bit on what they have done this offseason.
So, not only a big loss for them, they did lose Jacob deGrom, but they didn't let that stop them. They have signed Adam Ottavino back. I know they had him for a year or two.
One of those former Yankees.
Yes. They also just signed we're going to sign Carlos Correa, but now it's in the Giants' hands. But it goes back and forth. We never know. The Mets want to restructure their deal. Correa doesn't want to, but you never know what happened. Just like the Rafi Devers, they gave him 1 year. Now 10 more years added on to that. But not only did they lose deGrom, they also signed star Japanese import Kodai Senga, an amazing star pitcher over there. It was a great steal for the Mets.
Yeah, absolutely. And another guy, Justin Verlander, Cy Young winner, actually, and a world champion, two-time world champion with the Houston Astros. So it's really been, I guess we could say, the topic of the show today, veteran presence that has helped these guys and these young teams like the Astros. We mentioned not all the guys are younger on the Houston Astros. Obviously, you got Kyle Tucker. You had Alex Bregman over there, Yuli Gurriel, Christian Vasquez, Mancini, guys like that. But those veterans help guys like Chas McCormick, who is younger, Jeremy Pena, who else? All those younger guys. A guy like, even though Yordan Alvarez has been in the league, it's still a veteran presence that helps a younger guy like Alvarez after maybe a game that he struggles. But the veteran presence that Justin Verlander is going to bring to the Mets, especially when you have a guy like Verlander and Scherzer, it's looking like one of the best rotation in baseball to start 2023.
Now, I have a question for you. How many wins do you think Verlander will get this season? Could he put over or under 20 wins?
You know what? We're going to get to our next segment. We're going to play a little over-under here, Aiden, me and you. And honestly, I'm going to say he gets just under 20 wins because when it comes down to the later season, I have a feeling the Mets are going to be a playoff team this year. There's no doubt in my mind that I don't know if they're going to be able to win the division, but I definitely see a playoff spot for the New York Mets. So at the end of the season, when it comes down to it, I'm going to say that he hits at least 16 to 17 wins, and definitely he'll hit, hopefully, 20 if this team can make it all the way.
Yeah, I agree with you. If they can make it all the way and they're not struggling really at all this season, I think he's good for at least 18 wins. But maybe Mad Max, I could see Mad Max getting 19, maybe even 20 wins if they get some hot streaks going.
Yeah, and that's going to bring us to another segment of ours, just finishing over under. Of course, that's going to be a subject that we're going to touch upon a lot during these episodes. Each episode, for those of you who are just joining us here on M&A Sports Talk, I'm Matthew Calvin. This is Aiden Roman. We have some fun games to play, and one of them obviously being over under. Those of you again just joining us, this is two teams. We're talking about Yankees, Mets, other MLB teams that have made some big signings, like the Texas Rangers signing Jacob deGrom that we mentioned, Aiden. But we just said Verlander could hit 16, 17, 18 wins. Scherzer could hit 18 to 20 wins. So where does the rest of the Mets rotation kind of stand with those two leaders? You basically have two aces on your team. So for me, this Mets rotation that looks so dominant on paper could honestly be one of the best rotations in baseball. But this is a rotation that I think honestly could win. Each of them could win at least 10 to 15 games this season.
And now we're just talking about the starters here. You look at the rotation. You got Edwin Diaz closing it out, almost like the Mariano Rivera. I don't want to compare him to Mo, but like the Mariano Rivera of the Queens. When he gets put in that game, basically it's over. It's the electricity that he brings. The
one
trumpets.
Song you don't want to hear during a game. You don't want to hear Narco.
You do not want to hear that.
But you mentioned Edwin Diaz, another guy who's a veteran presence that just brings the electricity. And, we mentioned this, and Aiden, I don't remember if I mentioned this to you, but on Monday I did the Manasquan Big Blue Warriors basketball game as they hosted the Roselle Catholic Lions. And let me tell you, the energy in Manasquan High School, that place was sold out for that game. There were people outside of the high school hoping that tickets would be available because other people weren't able to make it to the game. That wasn't happening. There was not an empty seat, it seemed like, inside of that gym, Aiden. And we're not going to talk about the game, but the electricity that game had, nothing compared to what Edwin Diaz and the Mets have when he comes into the game to close it out in Citi Field. It's like a whole nother level.
And that's what sports is about. You get that home field advantage. The chants are going. The boo birds are out for the opposing team. Almost like the New York. For both Yankees and the Mets. Just the fans. They're trying to get to you, and if they do, you won't have a good night.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna take a quick time out. When we come back, though, from M&A Sports Talk, we're going to head to the football side of things with the New York Giants making their first playoff push since 2016. An unfortunate miss for the New York Jets. A little J.J. Watt in the decision to retire, and the question mark on Tom Brady. What's going to happen with him? We'll be right back on M&A Sports Talk. All right, so back here on M&A Sports Talk, I'm Matthew Kaufman alongside Aiden Roman. Aiden, once again, so exciting to start this podcast with you. Just finished up with the baseball segment, I think. So we're going to go to the other side of New York, and I guess you could say across the Hudson to East Rutherford, New Jersey, the home of the New York Giants and the New York Jets. We're going to start with the Jets. Coming in a game that had to play in Seattle, they had to beat the Seahawks to keep their playoff chances alive. Zach Wilson was not playing. It was Mike White who was in at quarterback, but couldn't get the job done.
He couldn't get the job done, but Mike White, you got to look at the last few games that he's played. Mike White has been a great backup. You probably didn't think he'd start over a young stud like Zach Wilson, but, hopefully Zach Wilson and the Jets find it out. Hopefully a trade doesn't have to go off because I like Zach Wilson. I think he's a good fit for the team. They just got to start clicking, and I think they'll be good.
Yeah, and you mentioned the fact that the young Zach Wilson, and for a guy his age, obviously coming out of the draft just 2 years ago, at this point, you got to learn the foundation, of course. And obviously having Robert Saleh as head coach of the Jets, some question some of the decisions that Saleh made as a coach, some of the decisions, obviously Wilson. But you go into a game, we're going to go back a Thursday ago when they hosted the Jacksonville Jaguars at MetLife Stadium. They started amazingly on defense, and this was a defense that was great all season for the Jets. That's really what kept them in most of their games was their defense. Guys like DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner, Carl Lawson, CJ Mosley, Quinnen, and Quincy Williams, those guys are the names that you think of this season, along with Garrett Wilson, offensive rookie receiver for the Jets, names that you think of when you hear the New York Jets. And Zach Wilson, obviously, he did make some comments that not a lot of people liked or Jets fans liked, but at the same time, do you give Zach Wilson another chance? Or are you saying, okay, maybe this time it is time to move on from Zach Wilson after what he showed us during the regular season? Obviously, didn't play against Seattle, but what he did show us in when he did play on the field for the Jets.
I think I would give it if I was the head of the Jets, I would give Zach Wilson another opportunity. I think it's I don't want to say too quick to choose and trade or whatever, but I think you give him another year, see how he's playing out. Maybe he's not made for the city. Maybe he'll be good somewhere else. Like Geno Smith, he is 32 years old. I bet half the Seahawks fans didn't think they were going to get Geno Smith as a replacement for Russell Wilson. That was a big hit they took. But Geno Smith, 32 years old, like I just said, and he has over 4,000 passing yards this season, carrying the Seahawks to an even record.
Yeah, and you mentioned Russell Wilson. That brings us actually right into our next topic, Aiden. This is a team of Seattle who traded away Russell Wilson. Now, if you look at it, well, we're going to play our next game. It's called Who Won the Trade? Right? Now, we're going to pick, who do you think won the trade? The Seahawks or the Broncos in Russell Wilson?
In the beginning when the trade first went off, I think this was a really good move for the Broncos, get a nice, great quarterback in there. But as of right now and seeing where we're going to head into week 18, I think that the Seahawks definitely won the trade.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you on that. Obviously it's the head coach, Nathaniel Hackett, gets fired a couple of weeks last week after the Broncos loss. But at the same time, it's not, yes, it's on the head coach. It's also on the quarterback. It's on the players, how they respond to things. So you have to think, obviously they have Russell Wilson for the contract. But in my opinion, Seattle definitely won the trade this season.
Oh, 100%.
Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen next season. What other weapons can the Broncos go get? Obviously, you have Cortland Sutton. You have a guy like Jerry Jeudy. But what weapons can you get during the offseason that is not only going to help your team, but it's going to help Broncos country and Russell Wilson?
You know, I can't even answer that. I don't know what the Broncos would do. They did give up they gave up like three amazing picks. They got one first rounder, a couple of second rounders, along with 2 or 3 players. It was just, I think they made the trade just off pure instinct. They didn't really put mind into it, but it's, as you can see, it's not working out for them. They're at 3-4 wins this season. It's not looking too good.
Yeah, and this is a Denver Broncos team that came in with such high expectations, of course, with Russell Wilson. And this is Russell Wilson who took his team to 2 Super Bowls with the Seahawks. Obviously, they beat the Denver Broncos, of course, in MetLife Stadium against the Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning. Then they lost the following year to the New England Patriots, but it's still been a Russell Wilson team when he was over with Seattle that still pushed every year in the playoffs. They still had a playoff spot. We saw a completely different Russell Wilson in 2022. What are your hopes and expectations for Wilson heading into the next season? I know we got a little bit of time. We still got the Week 18 this year and playoffs, but if you're jumping ahead to 2022's season, or 2023 season, I guess you could say, what are you looking at and what do you want to see out of Russell Wilson that we didn't see in 2022?
I'm trying to see that leadership that Russell Wilson had in the Seahawks. I'm trying to see all that transferred over to the Broncos. Maybe he just had to get some time getting used to the new stadium, the new fans, his new teammates. He had to build some trust with them. It's hard to be an amazing QB when you have no type of I don't want to say communication, but no type of 100% trust with all your teammates. You know what I'm saying, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. And that goes with any sport. You got to be able. It's not that you don't trust your teammates, but you got to get familiar with them, and that's something that a lot of players, first year guys, younger guys, have problems with. Russell Wilson's a veteran in the NFL. As I mentioned, he's been to 2 Super Bowls in Seattle, but coming over to Denver, he should bring the leadership. And not that he didn't bring the leadership. He definitely did. He brought his leadership over to Denver, but it's the fact that, your team that won 4 games so far this year. Of course, we have Week 18 next week, but he was out a week with a concussion, so you take that week away. He looked great there in training camp, but at the same time, you question what's going to happen in 2023 with Russell Wilson. So we go from the Jets to the Broncos and Russell Wilson. Now we're going to head to the playoff team that surprised a lot of people, Aiden, and that's the New York Giants. Brian Daboll, the head coach of the New York Giants. Now, I'm going to show this video. We're going to play this video for you guys, and this is the after the game when Brian Daboll talked to his team and addressed his team in the locker room. Listen to this, Aiden. This is what you want to hear from your head coach.
Fellas, okay? Took that next step. I'm so proud of you, all of you, okay? Chokes me up. It's a great feeling, and I congratulate all of you. I told you we were right there on that step, and you guys took it about as complete team of game we could play. You've worked your off to get to this spot. There's always room for more. I like our team. I think we're making progress at the right time. Enjoy it tonight, all right? Enjoy it. Coaches, staff, players, everybody's involved in it. Everybody. It's not a one-man show. That quarterback played good. You want to say anything, Daniel? Appreciate everybody. Bring it up. Bring it up. See everybody on Wednesday. Giants on 3. 1, 2, 3. Wait. All right, Daniel's right. See you Wednesday.
And just listening to that, obviously, Aiden, is such a cool thing, especially for the New York Giants that haven't been to the playoffs since 2016 when Eli Manning was a quarterback. And all the things that happened with the Giants in recent seasons, obviously the turnover issues with Daniel Jones, the injuries to Saquon Barkley, the offensive line and its struggles, what the receivers have done, the defense. This is not a complete, but this is a much better football team. And you could tell with the way that they were looking in that locker room with the smiles on their faces at the end of that game and the speech that Brian Daboll said at the end there. And, well, they practiced today. They didn't practice yesterday, and I'll tell you that much.
Well, all I'm going to say is the new head coach, amazing, right? You take a team who hasn't gotten a positive record since 2016, like you just said. You just turn it around completely in 1 year. You make them to a playoff team. I've really high hopes for the New York Giants this postseason, this playoff season, and I hope this coach stays with us for a while. We could come back to the playoffs multiple times throughout the next couple years. And once Eli retired, not a lot of Giants fans expected much out of Daniel Jones, but he has stepped up this year.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. I'm gonna share this clip with you, and this really makes me feel good when we see this kind of things, especially with Daniel Jones and Aiden. This is such a cool moment because this is the interview after the game.
Well, it's a happy new year indeed. Daniel Jones and the Giants clinched the playoffs for the first time since 2016 in front of the home crowd, chanting your name. What are you feeling in this moment, Daniel?
Yeah, it's a big win for us. Fun season. Proud of the team. Proud of these guys. Came out and played well today. Did what we had to do, but a lot of work ahead of us. We're going to enjoy this one, but proud of the team for sure.
I saw you get a big hug from Brian Daboll when you were pulled out of the game. What was said between the two of you on the sideline?
Just talked about how proud we are of this team and how far we've come. A lot of work to do, like I said, but we're going to enjoy this one and appreciate him. Appreciate all those guys have come in and really helped us out.
And what a day for you. 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns. How would you just describe the confidence you continue to gain outside the pocket?
I think things opened up for us. We were running the ball well. Saquon played great. The guys up front played great. And some things opened up off of that. So we'll keep looking for those things and take advantage of them when they're there. But fun win for us, big win for us, a lot of work ahead.
Enjoy it, Daniel. Congrats.
Thank you.
So just hearing that and again, we spoke about this earlier when we did talking about Aaron Judge. This is a guy that a lot of Giants fans weren't so sure about at first. Coming out of Duke, the questions were, what did we pick Daniel Jones too high in the draft at the 6th overall pick? Why did we pick Daniel Jones there? He would have been there he could have been a 2nd or 3rd round QB. He brought your team to the playoffs. And we heard Saquon Barkley mention that as well, Aiden. He brought the Giants to the playoffs. Granted, obviously, Barkley had a much better season this year. The defense played great with Coach Martindale. But this is a Giant team that were booed out of MetLife Stadium last year. They were booed out of MetLife Stadium. And I can tell you that firsthand. I was at the game that the Giants played the Washington Commanders last season when Coach Joe Judge and Dave Gettleman were with the organization. They booed the Giants off the field. That's when that it was over. Now you come in, they're cheering. We heard MVP chants for Daniel Jones when he came off the field. That's how electric MetLife Stadium was, and that's how much now they appreciate what this team has done this season compared to what's been happening in the past.
Yeah, I'm speechless. I'm so glad that the new coach has turned this around. But yeah, I don't know if it's just me, but when you look at Eli Manning and you look at Daniel Jones, you can't tell me they don't look alike. I don't know if you can put a picture up, but they look alike. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and hopefully, obviously for Giants fans, they play alike
too. Yeah,
just like Daniel Jones, Eli Manning took the Giants to 2 Super Bowls, won 2 MVPs. Daniel Jones would love to do the same. He has an opportunity this year, of course, bringing his team along with Saquon Barkley to the playoffs
and
for the first
hopefully
time
for many years to come.
Since 2016, of course, and for many years to come for the Giants. So now the question is, speaking of playoffs, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in. The question's a giant question mark over Tom Brady. What are we going to see from Tom Brady and the Buccaneers in the playoffs after having a tough season. Yes, they won the chance to play in the playoffs. They beat Carolina this past Sunday at home. But what do you expect to see during the playoffs from the GOAT himself?
Yeah, if we're being honest here, what's their record? They're 7-8. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure, but here we'll search it up right now for some reassurance. But I just how this season has gone for Tom Brady
8 and
and the
8.
Buccaneers. What are
8 and
they?
8. 8 and
8 and
8.
8. Okay.
So they're at
Yeah.
500 right now.
Yeah. So I expected a lot more for a guy like Tom Brady. I really thought they were going to be at least 10-win team, just like they were. Couple year 2020 year against Patrick Mahomes. They were in the Super Bowl. Yes, sorry, but I expected a lot more from Tom Brady and his team. Now they are missing a huge piece, Gronkowski. Tom Brady and him have been together forever, but I don't know if he's just the only problem or if age is really catching up to Brady.
Yeah, this is a team that you look at these playoffs this year. I mean, this is a 2022 playoff picture that is right now shaping up to be one of the best that we've seen recently. And I want to mention the team. We're going to start with the AFC teams. As it stands currently right now in the AFC, Kansas City at number 1, the Bills are number 2, the Bengals are number 3, Chargers are number 5, and the Ravens are number 6. Now, the question is, who's the number 4 seed? And that's going to be answered this Sunday when the Jacksonville Jaguars play the Tennessee Titans in their Week 18 matchup, because that game, Aiden, is going to decide who takes the number 4 seed. So that's up for grabs. And, of course, it comes down to Week 18. Why wouldn't it? Then you go to the NFC side. The Eagles trying to battle to save their number 1 seed as they'll play the New York Giants, as we mentioned. The 49ers at the 2 seed play the Cardinals. The Minnesota Vikings that beat the Giants just a couple of weeks ago on the 61-yard field goal. They're at the number 3. And if the postseason started tomorrow, it would be the Minnesota Vikings taking on the New York Giants. The number 4 seed, obviously, of course, clinching last Sunday against Carolina with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 5 seed is the Cowboys. That could all change, though, because of the fact Dallas beat Philadelphia 2 weeks ago. And if Philadelphia loses to the Giants, the Cowboys have a chance to take their spot, of course, depending on the 49ers and the Vikings outcome. And then the 7 seed is between, obviously, Seattle, Detroit, and Green Bay. And that's going to come down to the wire as well. So now you look at the teams that are eliminated. Houston, obviously, looking at the number 1 overall pick right now in the draft. You got the Jets that were eliminated, the Browns, the Saints, the Commanders who were recently eliminated. And, I'm going to mention the opportunity that the Commanders had, and we're going to get to this topic next. What it's called, our next topic is called Coach, What Are You Thinking? Moments. And, well, Aiden, we're going to talk about Ron Rivera, because the fact that maybe he didn't realize they could have been eliminated last week, but at the same time, Taylor Heineke, in my opinion, should have been the QB. No matter what, even if you were having a chance to be eliminated or not, we've seen the numbers. He's played way better than Carson Wentz. Nothing against Carson Wentz, but Heineke has played so much better than Carson Wentz has. Let's be honest, Carson Wentz hasn't been a QB1 caliber. Taylor Heineke brought this team back to a playoff chance. You bench Heineke, you put Carson Wentz in there. Yes, it was against the 49ers when Carson Wentz wound up coming into the game, but you pull Heineke from that game like you're playing the worst team in the NFL. You're playing the number 1 defense. You were playing the 49ers, you pull Heineke, you put Carson Wentz in there, and then you have Carson Wentz start this past Sunday, and you blow your opportunity of being in a playoff game.
Hey, I think it was a completely wrong move. I mean, you like you said it. You've seen so much amazing stuff from Taylor Heineke. You look back to the 2020-2021 season where the Commanders and Heineke basically, I don't want to say carried, but he did amazing, and they were the only team in the NFC East to make the playoffs. And even though it was short lived, he still proved what he was able to do.
Absolutely. And literally taking it to the wire with Tom Brady, which wound up being the Super Bowl champions that year. But at the same time, you're playing a Cleveland Browns team that has a guy like Deshaun Watson. Obviously, of course, Watson didn't play all year. We'll get to that in another episode. But he didn't play all season. This is a Browns team that came into the game that just weren't that overall good as a team. Now, you're already you lost to the Giants on Sunday night, 2 weeks before that. You lost to the 49ers by 17. So at the same time, why would you take Heineke out? At the point of, you're the Commanders, why? What is the point for you to take out? Even, let's say, forget about the point that there was a playoff picture on the line, but just looking at the fact, why take out your better quarterback and put Carson Wentz in there when Taylor Heineke has brought this team back to life?
It's almost like they're just looking to play football. Like they did have a really big chance this season of making the playoffs. Even with the exception of the Giants win last week, but for a team that's 2 games behind the New York Giants, well, 1 game at the time. When you're playing the Browns, you have to. I don't want to say the Browns are a bad team, but they're already out of the playoffs. They have no chance of making the playoffs for 3-4 games now. You have to, they're going to throw their regular starters out. You have to have everybody on deck. It's almost like a must win.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was such a big opportunity. And unfortunately for Commander fans, they had the chance that a lot of people questioned why Carson Wentz. So we're going to hopefully get some answers when we get more press conferences from Ron Rivera. But now we're going to go to a more upsetting story, Aiden. And this really touched a lot of people with the unsudden injury to Damar Hamlin, the 24-year-old from the Buffalo Bills, the defensive safety, who at this time exchanged on Wednesday with Shannon Sharp. We saw Skip Bayless kind of have a conversation, or those tweets. I don't know if you saw those on Twitter, but honestly, just some upsetting news when it comes to what we're covering. And I'm going to read you something from CNN that they posted earlier today about the Bills safety. Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin, 24-year-old, remains in critical conditions with signs of improvement, and the Bills said in an update Wednesday he's expected to remain in intensive care. Hamlin suffered cardiac arrest and collapsed on the field on Monday night during a game against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bills are holding meetings and walkthrough Wednesdays ahead of Sunday's game against the New England Patriots. The team said the NFL said the Bengals will not be resumed this week. So at this point, we're not sure the exact condition. Obviously, the improvement, luckily enough, for Damar Hamlin, and prayers up to him and his family, of course. And just a horrible thing to watch, obviously, being live on TV. And hopefully he recovers soon and gets better for the Buffalo Bills.
It's just, it puts me at a loss for words. It was just so shocking to see. I don't know if you were watching the game at the time, but I was. It was just, at first I didn't know what was going on, and then you kind of see everybody crowding around, and I'm like, okay, this isn't good. But the last update that I've heard about Hamlin was he is still in critical condition. I was told he still can't breathe on his own. I'm assuming he has some type of tube, but it's just, I'm really hoping he gets better soon, and hoping he's able to play the game of football again.
Yeah, and I'm gonna share something real quick. This is a picture from the New York Giants on their Twitter page. This is Brian Daboll showed up to a press conference today wearing the number 3 on the hat. And that just shows you, this is a team that just is amazing. And the NFL hasn't discussed whether the Patriots-Bills game will be postponed yet or not. So, but it just shows you all the tweets from the Giants, Jets, any team really in the NFL. Obviously, I'm not going to name all 30 plus, but that's how much this young man has impacted the game. And that's how much that this means to the NFL, to the players, the families, the coaching staffs, all the organizations. So, of course, the Buffalo Bills, their game in question about being postponed against the Patriots. And in my opinion, yes, that game between the Bills and the Bengals have an opportunity at the number 1 seed. In my opinion, I wouldn't play that game.
Like you said, the game being postponed. I could go either way about playing the game or not, but it's just about finding time for the NFL because obviously you're not going to push a week of games back. The whole schedule is going to be off track. You're going to have the Super Bowl later. Everything's going to be delayed. But it is just such an important game for the Cincinnati Bengals, only because they have the Ravens right behind them, only down a win. But it's
and it's such a heartbreaking thing just to see anybody, obviously, and many people have mentioned this, podcast, TV shows, ESPN, everybody's been saying it. You see injuries all the time. Torn ACLs, broken ankles, wrists, shoulder injuries, head injuries, concussions. You've never seen anything like this. This is something that just doesn't happen every day, every football game. And that's why this thing with Damar Hamlin has been so heartbreaking. Having CPR performed live,
right on the field where all the fans are watching.
Everybody was there watching. This game was live on ESPN. Of course, so many people tuned into this Monday night game, not just being a Monday night primetime game, but the excitement between these two teams that were going to be happening. Bengals went down the field. They scored a touchdown. The Bills kicked the field goal. And then that happens. And it's breathtaking, unfortunately, for both teams and really any team in the NFL. So now, if I'm the Bills, of course,
you're wondering how is your team going to react and how they're going to play with a player like that.
Exactly. And, I do enjoy the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals were able to come to an agreement. We're not playing this game today. They were told, all right, you're going to get 5 minutes. You can warm up, get your thoughts together. Then we're going to play this game. Zach Taylor, head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, went over to Sean McDermott and said, we can't play this game tonight. They went in the locker rooms, both teams. All right, they were given a little more time. They discussed it. The NFL came to an agreement. The game is going to be postponed, as it should. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't think that game should have been played that night at all. Luckily enough, it wasn't. And also, as I mentioned before, I don't think this game should be played at all. It's hard to say that because of how much this game means to the playoff picture. But at the same time, these are two teams that just went through a traumatizing thing with what happened on the field and that this entire few days. So, yes, the game needs to happen, but it shouldn't happen.
With all bad news, it has to follow up with some good news. When Hamlin came out of college, he started a charity for kids and stuff. The fans really took a toll on it after his injury. They've two happened three nights ago. 2 nights ago it happened.
Yeah, Monday night.
They've already donated to this GoFundMe $6 million, $4 million overnight.
And that's just obviously such an amazing thing that obviously, this is a young guy who is going through a traumatic thing at the moment. And obviously just reading that CNN article to you, Aiden, but the fact that his condition is improving and he's around great doctors and everything like that. So fingers crossed that he gets better. Again, prayers up to him and his family, the Bills and Bengals organization as well. So we're going to take a quick time out here on M&A Sports Talk before we head over to the basketball side of things as we wrap things up here tonight with Matthew Kaufman and Aiden Roman. New York Knicks are coming up next right here on M&A Sports Talk. All right, back here on M&A Sports Talk. Once again, those of you just tuning in, I'm Matthew Kaufman. This is Aiden Roman. And Aiden, we've talked about so much here so far tonight. This has been such a good first episode for the both of us. Now let's finish it off with a little bit of basketball. And, I'm going to leave this to you, Aiden, big New York Knicks fan that you are. I'm going to leave this subject to you. We're going to play a little game for the New York Knicks as well. We played a little over-under. We played, was this a good coach decision or not? This is now, can this team, who bounces back? We're going to play, can we bounce back? What do you got for us?
Yeah, I wouldn't really call it bounce back, but Obi Toppin is back. After 2 to 3 weeks on the injured list, he's back. He should be playing tonight. His stats are a little down. Only averages 7.7 points per game. I'm expecting a lot more. He really brings the energy to the Knicks fans, and you can only imagine the teammates. He's almost like a natural born leader. He just, hype man.
Yeah, and mentioning that this team tonight will play the San Antonio Spurs at 7:30 on MSG, of course, ESPN NY 98.7 on the radio. Then you got Friday. You come back to the Garden against the Toronto Raptors. Then you head to Milwaukee and you play the Bucks. These are your next 3 games coming up, and you have 3 potential all-stars for the New York Knicks in R.J. Barrett, Jalen Brunson, and Julius Randle, who really, really have come up big for the New York Knicks, Aiden.
Just building off that, Julius Randle, I don't know if you guys were listening to our broadcast at all, but Julius Randle continues the hot streak. The last 7 days, averaging 35 points, 13 rebounds, and 6 assists. These are just unreal numbers, and like you said, I don't know. There's not a place in the world where he wouldn't be an all-star this year.
Yeah, and this is such a big opportunity for the New York Knicks. Obviously, we saw the team with that winning streak and all of that, but this is a New York Knicks team, Aiden, that it's young, and opportunities continue to rise for the New York Knicks. And you mentioned Obi Toppin. He's going to be available tonight. Is he going to start? Is he going to play? How long is he going to play is the question. But at the same time, this is a team that they found their winning ways, it seems like.
The Knicks, they really I'm just going to say, I watch a lot of the games. It all starts with defense for them. Once they get those defensive stops, they start rolling, and it's all over from there. It's all in the uphill.
All right, well, we're going to play one more game here on M&A Sports Talk. We're going to give our predictions of the night, and that being between the New York Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs. We're going to start with the offensive side for the New York Knicks, and that is going to be over/under who scores over 20 points tonight for the New York Knicks.
Well, let's start off here with Julius Randle. I'm just going to say it's a no-brainer, right? I'm going with over 20 points for Julius Randle. I think he drops at least 30.
All right, so now you look at the San Antonio Spurs, Aiden, and this is a team that, for the Spurs, that have really, not been the best, you could say, here in 2022, 12-25 record. They're 12 games back in the division right now. They've lost 2 straight. They're 3-7 over their last 2 games. So for them, they need to get back on track offensively as well. But who, for me, stands out today, that's Keldon Johnson, who right now looks like, for this team, who back just a couple of days ago on January 2nd versus the Nets, had 25 points in 22 minutes, 2 of 6 from the arc, 7 of 13 from the field. So he's definitely a guy that I say has over 20 points tonight. And this is going to be a good one between the Knicks and the Spurs.
100%. And still looking at the Spurs, even though I'm a Knicks fan, I can still see Trey Jones. I'm pretty confident he is the Spurs starting point guard. But last 7 days, 12.3 points. But I'm thinking he got a breakout game any game now.
All right. Well, that was the predictions of the night for the New York Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs. Tip off just about 7:30 over on MSG. And Aiden, for me, this was a great time. I cannot wait for the next upcoming episodes of M&A Sports Talk. And one last thing before we go tonight, talking about the NBA, there are so many different things that could happen, of course. And coming into the season with head coaching changes, trades, we saw Donovan Mitchell drop 71 points the other night. What is your reaction to that? Dropping 71 points in a game.
It blows my mind. In the fourth quarter, like right when the fourth quarter ended, he only had 58 points. For him to drop, what is that, 23 in overtime? It is just insane. I'm speechless. It is insane.
Yeah, and this is a team that the Cavs have been a lot better this year, of course, we've seen. But Donovan Mitchell, 71 points. What a crazy, crazy game that was. So that's going to end it for this episode of M&A Sports Talk. So glad that you guys joined us tonight here on M&A Sports Talk this afternoon. Once again, I'm Matthew Kaufman. That's Aiden Roman. We're saying so long from M&A Sports Talk.